Hey everybody, I am Kevin Iole. Welcome to Yahoo Sports UFC 274 on Saturday at the very aptly named Footprint Center in Phoenix, because I think somebody's going to get a footprint in their face on this one. There's a great card lined up here, two title fights. Justin Gaethje fighting Tony Ferguson on the card. It's really a good one. Joining me right now to talk about that and a lot of stuff about the UFC, of course, is UFC President Dana White. Dana, how is it going, my friend?
Justin Gaethje versus Oliveira.
I know. Oh, well, I said they're on the card. I didn't.
Got it. Okay.
So both of them on the card. Justin Gaethje versus Oliveira in the main event. Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza in the co-main. And of course, another fight I think is going to be an unbelievable fight is Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. So let's start, I guess, with that one. What do you expect from Tony Ferguson? We know Chandler, is kind of at a peak right now, and he's just delivering a lot of exciting fights. Tony Ferguson coming off 3 losses. How do you expect him to react to the situation he finds himself in?
I don't know. You're still looking at the number 5 and number 7 best guys in the nastiest division in the sport. So if you look at who they've lost to, they're all killers. So I expect this fight to be awesome, like every one of their fights.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen, like, when you look, say, at the Beneil Dariush fight for Ferguson, have you seen any signs of Tony slowing down? That all the wars that he's been in over the years have caught up to him at all? Do you see any of that?
I don't know. I mean, the reality is he's still one of the top 10 guys in the world. So, and obviously Beneil Dariush is ranked number 4 in the world and on the climb. He was just supposed to fight Islam,
right?
So, you got to put it into context of who these guys are fighting, and who Tony's fought, who Michael's fought, how good the fights were. Everybody keeps asking me if these two are fighting for their UFC lives. They're not.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I didn't see it that way, but I wondered if they were fighting for their lives as like legitimate title contenders, right? I mean, that's a separate thing from fighting for their UFC lives.
Well, that's a fact. I mean, you're talking about the number 5 and number 7 ranked guys in the world. So this is obviously an important fight for the division. It isn't an end all be all for them.
When you guys, you're in the room that you often hold your making meetings in, and you talk a lot about those Tuesday meetings that you have going back and forth. When you guys go over the lightweight division, I mean, what is that like? You're throwing around, because you mentioned Islam, you mentioned Dariush, you got Justin Gaethje, you got Charles Oliveira. I mean, there are Conor McGregor. I don't know what his situation is, but you have Dustin Poirier. You got a lot of guys in that division that make great fights. Take me inside those meetings. Like, what are they like when you're running past lightweight fights?
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to put on the best fights you could possibly put on. I mean, you just said it a minute ago. I mean, right now we're trying to make Islam versus Beneil. I mean, we're trying to make that fight again. And obviously the winner would be the next contender for the title. So, we're always trying to put on the best and most exciting matchups we could possibly do. I mean, Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chandler is a ridiculous fight.
It's amazing, Dana, what the UFC has accomplished. Like, I saw, Canelo Alvarez is fighting this week, and obviously always a big story. But I saw a lot of people on social media. They're saying Tony Ferguson fight week, right? Not even Justin Gaethje fight week or Charles Oliveira fight week or Canelo fight week. And so Ferguson has found his way into the hearts of so many fight fans, right? And it's incredible, and you have a lot of guys like that.
Yeah. You know what? The fight fans love warriors, guys that'll come in and fight anybody and put on the type of fights that he does. Like a Chandler too, any of the guys in this division. I mean, Gaethje is an absolute. I was just looking. Charles Oliveira has a 91% finish rate, right? And Gaethje has an 87% finish rate. What do you think that fight's going to look like?
Yeah, that is a crazy fight. Let me ask you about Gaethje going up against Oliveira. Gaethje is one of these guys who fights a million miles an hour and everything. What do you think the secret is to his success? Is it just the pace and how physically tough he is, or do you feel like he doesn't get credit for a really good technique as well?
Got a great chin, unbelievable knockout power in both hands. Vicious leg kicks, and great takedown defense.
Right.
It doesn't get any more dangerous than that.
Yeah. And he's one of the guys, like, a really nice guy out. Like when you talk to him, I love talking to him, right? A fun guy to talk to, always gives you good stuff. But he's a nice guy away from. But when he gets in there, he's one of the mean guys, right? He's looking to hurt you. He's not looking just to win and have his arm raised, right? And that makes him a special kind of an opponent.
100%. No, he goes in there. Everything he throws has bad intentions on it. Whether it's either one of his hands or that leg kick. He's got, in my opinion, one of the most underrated leg kicks in the sport. I mean, people don't talk about it as much as they should.
Yeah,
Habib finished him quickly in Abu Dhabi, but he had to. Those leg kicks were hard, and I'm sure very, very painful.
Yeah, I was going to say, I talked to Javier Mendez, Habib's coach, this morning, and I said, hey, you prepared for Gaethje. What's it like, and what do you focus on? And he said, well, with Habib, he goes, all I talked to him about was worried about the leg kicks. He says, Habib is so good that was the main thing I had to worry on. But he said, he's a whole other deal for any other fighter, including Charles Oliveira. And with Oliveira, like, he is an amazing story. And I can't think of anybody else in the history of the UFC that matches that. A guy that at one point, what was he, 7-8 in the UFC, or 8-7, something like that. And he just goes on this incredible run. What do you think inspired that kind of turnaround? What do you see that's different in him than when he was just kind of treading water?
You talking about Oliveira?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Oliveira was always a guy who looked like he had a ton of talent. He had some weight issues there for a little while. I don't know what it is that flipped him and turned him around, but the talent was always there. I mean, that guy was always an absolute savage. And I mean, even Saturday night, he's going into hostile territory. Gaethje has the opportunity to win the title in his home state, so you can imagine it's going to be very Gaethje heavy, the fan base there. So. Charles Oliveira is a stud,
and Oliveira says he's going to stand with him. So that he's not afraid to stand with him. That's kind of crazy, you would think, right?
True. And his jiu-jitsu is unbelievable. So, obviously, Oliveira is dangerous on his feet too. He throws bombs, but Gaethje is very dangerous on his feet. Both hands, his leg kicks. Oliveira wants to get this thing to the ground and submit him as fast as possible.
Now, in the co-main event, you have Rose Namajunas against Carla Esparza, a rematch from, 8 years ago now, hard to believe. And you've gone through 10 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter since the women appeared on The Ultimate Fighter. Are you surprised that Rose Namajunas is the one that turned out to be the dominant one from that series? I mean, you go through all the women that are on there, and there was a lot of them that looked like they had promise, right? And you had a lot of 1-2s, 2-1s in the UFC and getting cut. And Rose Namajunas is at the top of her game, and she's beating everybody, most of them decisively, and still around. I mean, does that surprise you that her dominance and her rise the way it was?
Not really. I mean, she always showed signs of super talent. She's worked hard and done what she needed to do, tightened up her stand-up game. I mean, her stand-up game is unbelievable. But Carla Esparza is one of those women too, and neither one of them are the same fighter they were when they first squared off. It's almost like Carla, when she went into the fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, when she had the title, almost felt like she didn't belong there at the time. She's got some time under her belt. She realizes she belongs here now. She's tough. She's gritty. She grinds people out and beats them up. And it's like, this is a fun fight now at this time with both these girls being so much more matured here in the UFC.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And then, moving on to a couple other topics I wanted to ask you about. And I guess, the first one, a lot of people have asked me about it. I am not a big fan of these boxer versus MMA fights, but you had Francis Ngannou show up, and there goes his head. Francis Ngannou show up in London when Tyson Fury fought. Why was he there? And what is your take on that?
I'm assuming he's a boxing fan, and he wanted to see a boxing match. I don't know, man. I listen. You're a smart dude. You've been in the game for a long time. You know the answer to all these questions. Silly.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that. I wrote that in the aftermath of the fight that night. But I saw Francis did an interview recently, and he said there's no new UFC contract if I can't fight Tyson Fury. And
Hey, how did the Cyril Gahn fight go?
How did the Cyril Gahn fight go? I think he won the fight, didn't he?
How did he win?
I think he used his wrestling, didn't he?
He did.
So
guess what he can't use against Tyson Fury?
Right. I mean, how do you get rid of this? Because you got Usman talking. I mean, I hate it.
You don't, I guess you don't get rid of it. It's silly. Usman is the pound for pound best fighter in the world. He's the best welterweight of all time. He's lapping, I mean, vicious, really badass dudes. And, there's no need for him to even be mentioning Canelo. Canelo's in a completely different sport, who is also the pound for pound best fighter in his sport. It's silly. Now, guys are all grown men. They can stay and do whatever they want.
Let me ask you one. I don't like this topic, but I'm going to ask one other question because I had a lot of people ask me about it. Steven Espinoza from Showtime, the president of Showtime Sports, put a tweet out last week, and I think he was referring to something that Usman had tweeted, and he said, you want the boxing payday, but you don't want the boxing self-determination of being able to fight who you want to fight. And I want to get your reaction to that. I mean, basically he's saying, the boxers can determine their career and they can fight whoever they want to fight. And by, inference, then the UFC fighters can't do that. And I want to get your reaction to that comment.
Yeah, how's that working out for Espinoza? How's his business going?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. Tanking. Can't even believe that guy still has a job. You should probably stay off Twitter.
Okay. I don't want to.
If I was running my business like Espinoza is, I'd stay off Twitter. That's for damn sure.
Okay. Staying off Twitter is not that bad of a thing, I have to say, Dana, right?
I agree. I agree.
So maybe
you should probably do it.
Okay. You mentioned Cyril Gahn. I saw a report he's going to fight Tai Tuivasa. Is that accurate? And do you have that, tied down yet?
No, it's not done yet.
Is that kind of what you're targeting, or was that a mistake?
I don't even know right now off the top of my head.
Okay. You had said at one point, I think before Gahn fought Francis, that, France was on your radar. You wanted to put a show in France. Is that looking like it may happen this year?
Yeah. No, we're definitely going to France. Absolutely.
And will that be this year, Dana?
Yeah.
And can I assume that it would be Paris and nowhere else? You go first? It'll
be in Paris.
Okay. That's you're in most of the major media markets around the world, right? That's one that, you haven't been in yet. I know Bellator's had a couple shows in Paris. What do you think that'll do for you, getting a big city like that in Europe, and adding that to the mix of what you already have now? I think then at that point of all major cities, I think Rome might be the last really, big metropolitan area in Europe that you don't have access to.
Yeah, that's true. We got to do a fight in Africa too. We got to fight in Africa. Yeah, fight in Rome would be fun. I went to Rome a couple of years ago. What an incredible! I never really had any interest in going to Italy or any of that, and then I went to Italy, and holy, one of the greatest places on earth. So yeah, it would be fun to do a fight in Rome.
What is it, you've said this before, but I want to get you to kind of discuss it again a little bit. What is it about taking the show on the road that helps the business, right? Why does where you put the event, like if every fight was at Apex or every fight was at T-Mobile Arena, why is it better to move it around as opposed to just stay in the one spot and have people be able to watch?
Because we have the best live, the best live show in all of sports. So when people come out and come to the live event, like you're a fan and you bring 3 of your buddies with you that have never been, nobody walks out of it and says, yeah, I don't ever want to come to one of these again. They're blown away. It's an energy that you've never experienced before. And this buzz and feeling that you've never had before. And it instantly turns people into fans and they become addicted. That's how the sport's grown so fast. I mean, when we first bought this company and started traveling around the country, people thought we were nuts. Boxing only did they do Vegas, Atlantic City, and every once in a while you do Madison Square Garden or Staples or the Forum or something. They didn't go anywhere else. And we traveled this thing around, 44 times a year to all these different places around the world and around the United States. And that's how the fan base grew so fast.
What about talent? Does it have an impact on the talent?
As far as what?
In terms of helping develop talent, like for instance, do you think there'll be an influx of French fighters if you put a show on in France?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a fact. So when we put on look at Australia. When we first went into Australia, there was Elvis Sinisic. Now there's world champions from there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the list goes on and on. When we went into the UK, there were a couple of schools, in the UK, and now look at all the talent out of the UK. The list just goes on and on. The answer is yes. There's an explosion after we leave a city.
One of the things, I know you've talked a lot about it, crediting your successes, the PIs, right? And, I think what people forget a lot is when you first put them on, you had that crazy stretch of injuries and you brought the PI on to try to help with that. And it seems to me like, it doesn't get talked about, but that has made a huge difference. We don't have as many crazy injuries. Can you discuss that and sort of explain how you think the PI has impacted that problem?
Huge difference. I mean, yes, and there still are injuries, but we have the best physical therapists literally in the world working at the PI, and they fix these kids that are hurt. I mean, it's what off the top of my head, I don't know what the PI costs us a year. Whatever it does, it's worth every penny of it. I mean, what the work that those guys do down there is incredible. That's game changer for us.
And so it leads me to wonder, you have two of them built, and I know at the last press conference after UFC 273, I guess you were talking about it, but when do you get the other ones online? Like, it seems like that process has slowed, and I thought it would have sped up given the success you've had with the ones that are already there.
Well, I don't know if you knew this or not, but there was just a global pandemic. And
I did hear about that.
It slowed things up a bit for us. Had that not happened, the one in Mexico would be up and running right now. And I don't know which one I'd be working on next, because I love the idea of doing one in Africa. And I definitely want to do one in Puerto Rico. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And one or two little things. This is something that you said offhand, and I think, you don't say things that you don't mean, but you mentioned about building a hotel. And I wonder, is that still on the market for you? And why would the UFC want to run a hotel?
Yeah. So ever since the pandemic started, we've been renting this hotel out over on Tropicana. If that was our own hotel, we would have saved a ton of money. There's fighters coming in and out of here all the time with the PI. We do fights, 5-6 fights a year here in Vegas. Yes, we're building our own hotel. It'll be right here on property. And it'll save us a ton of money.
I know a lot of people, are going to be watching us not in Las Vegas. So if you're looking at the other PI and the headquarters here, and then you have the Apex over here, and there's a lot between. Is that where the lot between is where you're going to put the hotel?
Well, we're doing an expansion on the PI. I'm sorry, on the Apex. The Apex doing a huge expansion there.
Oh, fill me in on that. What's going to happen there?
We're building it out bigger. It's going to be more storage space, bigger green room, more seating. Yeah, we're blowing that out and building it out. It's going to be a hotel. I think the hotel will actually go on this other side.
Okay.
Where the dirt is over here. Across, if you pull in our main gate at the headquarters here, the hotel will be there. As far
right,
as
kind of by where the Pepsi business is there.
No, the other way.
The other way. Okay.
Right along. So you see, if you're driving down the freeway, there'd be the Apex, our headquarters, then the hotel.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Now, from expanding Apex, is that for putting more fights in there and leaving that there, or you had talked originally about putting other events into Apex, which I don't think you have done as up to this point yet.
What's the question?
Are you expanding Apex for your own fights being in there to have more people?
Yeah.
Or is it because you're going to put other events in there like you had talked about?
Yeah, no more. We literally, that place was built for Fight Pass. We built that place for Fight Pass. As soon as the last crew went in the place, the pandemic started. So it was like, it was meant to be. But you know what's funny? I'm sitting here thinking about you. You're telling me some stupid shit that Espinoza's saying. And I'm sitting here talking about expanding our arena and building a hotel here. And I got to listen to dumb shit that this idiot's tweeting. You know what I mean? It's like,
Steven, I didn't mean this.
We're so not even on the same level, that I got to listen to some dumb shit this idiot's saying.
Again, Steven Espinoza, that's Dana White that said that. I didn't say that. I just asked the question.
But you agree.
Oh man, you are rough. Well, let's see. Now you threw me for a loop there, so I don't know where it's going. Final question for you: International Fight Week. How is that shaping up? That July 2nd in Las Vegas. Do we know anything about main events yet? No, I don't have anything to announce. We're going to make some announcements this weekend on International Fight Week. Okay, so you can watch the pay-per-view and you will catch that. Lastly, any concern, like this is the second time that Canelo's fought that you fought on the same night. Any concern, does it hurt your pay-per-view when you go up against another event that you know is going to sell a lot of pay-per-views itself?
Yeah, no, I think what happens is, I'm watching the Canelo fight. You know what I mean? And I think that's the way a lot of fight fans feel. So I think they'll watch both. I think they'll watch us, and I think they'll watch Canelo. It's a great night for fight fans.
Yeah, last time, I mean, it was kind of a similar situation last time because Rose Namajunas was in your co-main event before, and when that happened, and just as Canelo's walking, Rose is, in the first round of her fight with Wiley, and now I think you're going to have this kind of same thing coming up, so it'll overlap with your main event and your co-main event.
Yeah, get your two TVs ready.
Yeah, we're going to iPad and TV. And hey, the other thing, I saw the TV ratings. You mentioned that it was a great night for fighting Saturday. So NFL Draft was #1 on cable. Top Rank Boxing had a really big show. Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez, that was #2 on cable. Your show was #3. What do you think that says about combat sports, that 2 of the top 3 shows on cable on Saturday, all 3 were sports, and 2 of the top 3 were fighting? I mean, you have to like that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's awesome. And just we were #1 in all the key demos. We were #1 on all network and cable television and the key demos.
I was just talking about the total viewership was what I had seen. So that's what okay.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Okay.
Key demos matter.
All right. Well, there you have it. That is Dana White, UFC 274 at the Footprint Center in Phoenix. You can catch that on pay-per-view on Saturday. Dana, as always, it was fun. And Steven Espinoza, I didn't say a thing. Thanks,
but
Dana.
he agreed with me.
We'll see you, bro.
Later.